afternoon, you guys.
Hello, Kathy.
Hello. I am really happy. I am really happy to see all of you guys here. I just about didn't make it.
Yeah, I think maybe there's a few others that.
Yeah, it was, thank you, Jerry. Jerry set me straight. I was setting her straight, and then she set me straight, so we're still here. So thank you for coming. I have an announcement. Carolyn, do you have those printouts for the liability?
No.
Okay.
Well, I have a few.
Okay.
Last year, you all filled out one of these waivers, basically, and since it's a new year, they want us to fill out another one. She's going to make some, they changed the form a little bit. I have some old ones. You have to fill one out, sign it, you give it back to me. If you fill out one of the old ones, and I'll come around until they're gone, I only have a few, please put your phone number on it. That's one of the things that they're asking to be added to these waivers now. Oh, did you do it? Not everybody follows directions, that's okay. If you've already filled one out for 2025 because you're at painting class or ceramics or whatever, then you don't need to do another one. But Michaela said she's gonna print some more and bring them in. So,
We have to do this every year?
every year.
Oh,
Not
okay.
every time you come, but every year.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So actually, I found what I lost, but that's it. Okay.
Okay, so
Pass it out.
everybody should get one then.
That was, yes, everybody
Yeah.
will get one. This table all has one. The rest of you will have to wait till she prints them and brings them in.
So, I already
Okay.
filled one out Tuesday, so there's one more.
Here, just somebody over there.
Okay, good job, Matt.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, well, thanks for clarifying. I thought, no, I'm immune, I've done it. Okay, so we're gonna get on with our demonstrator, whose name is, I mean, it's a beautiful name. It's Kellen Elspeth Planteen. Isn't that beautiful? Speaking of names, I worked in banking and I opened up an account for a young gal. Her name was Wendy Wackerman Full of Love. And I said, you're kidding.
Wow.
She said, no. She said, it was her maiden name and her married name, Wackerman and Full of Love. And anyway, I keep remembering that one. You're right there. You're right there in line with Wendy.
Great.
Okay. Kellen is a rural oil painter and has been doing this for roughly 20 years. And she paints scenes that are most near and dear to her heart. She comes from Loomis, which is really good, and it's in the rural part of Loomis. She creates a visual record of the things and places that she loves, and she's ready to share her tips and her tricks that she's learned over the past 20 years. So take it away, Kelly.
All right.
All right, let's change the microphone.
Hello. Okay.
And turn
Kathy,
you
did
up.
you turn yours
Oh boy.
off?
Okay. Oh wow. All right. Hi, I'm Kellen. So I started painting. It's one of my very first memories is being in kindergarten, working on a painting, and I didn't finish in the time that they allotted for that, but they let me skip the entire rest of the day's activities and work on this painting, and I still have it, and it is in my house now. So that's a core memory that people ask, when did you start making art? Always. And then in high school, I was very involved in the arts, and that's when I started oil painting. I did mostly self-portraits. I grew up in the age of selfies. And so I would take pictures of myself, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, and then paint self-portraits from the photos. Went to the Art Institute of Chicago on a painting portfolio, thought I'm gonna be a painter, can't wait. Failed my first painting class, got an F. Yeah, intro to painting. And I did a still life, and I was supposed to do a landscape. I redid it in the summer. I got the grade changed, but I decided maybe painting's not for me, and I went into the textile department. Should back up, I went to an all-girls Catholic school from kindergarten all through high school. So the textile department was also all women, and I felt completely safe and at home there. So I got my degree in Bachelor's in Fine Arts with an emphasis in fiber and material studies. The last class I took before I got my degree was how to be a professional artist. And I sat there for the whole class and I thought, oh my God, I can't do this. And so I got my degree and immediately quit making art for about 15 years. I worked in retail. I had a career at Nordstrom and wasn't wasted time. Everything I learned in working retail, learning how to talk to people, is what has moved me forward in my art journey now. I was self-demoting myself at Nordstrom for many years and then thought, I need something else in my life. I took a ceramics class at Sierra College. One day I went to class after working a shift and my teacher said, you gotta quit your job. This is draining you, it's killing you. So I went and I quit. And I came back to class and I said, hi, I'm Kellen, I just quit my job to be a full-time artist. And that was in December of 2020, or sorry, of 2019. 2020 happened, and then I did become a full-time artist by default. So everything that I'm going to share with you comes from many different sources, and when I went back to painting, I really thought, like, I eliminated all the things that stressed me out or got in my way of painting. So you'll see, I'm going to show you a lot of the shortcuts I use. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself now. One of the things I did, one of the things that changed my life was that when I took that ceramics class, the teacher recommended this book. And the quote that really stands out for me is here, the viewer's concerns are not your concerns. Your job is to learn to work on your work. Really the whole message of this book was stop thinking about making art and just make it. And so when I'm painting, I have a little mantra I tell myself is put the paint on the canvas. Just put the paint on the canvas. Doesn't matter where, doesn't matter how, just get it on there. The other thing that really changed the way I work was this Netflix film about Bob Ross. If you know anything about Bob Ross, he works very quickly. And one of his philosophies was if you do too much, it's going to lose its effectiveness. I really believe if you labor over any part of the painting, you can see it in the end result. So I try to work quickly for that. The quickness also comes from plein air, having to work with the quickness of the light. Though now I work mostly from photo, I still try to keep that same quickness. So now that's all of the, actually, no, we'll go here. I'll show you my color palette. I use a very limited color palette. Was one of the things that I did when I went back to painting was eliminated all of the extra things. So I use a lot of paint. In order to afford to use a lot of paint, I had to use a limited color palette. So this is what it broke down to. And you might think, well, I paint a lot of landscapes and there's a color missing. There's no green. And in fact, none of these colors look like the colors on the canvases. But that's where all the mixing comes in. So I'll show you some of that today and how I take these simple colors to make everything else. That's the end of the computer. So I'm going to switch over and turn the lights back on.
And cable into
There's
that
this.
junction right there. See the gray one?
Yes.
There we go.
All right. So one of the things that I do that has been really effective in my art practice is I work in series. I take a lot of photos on my phone. Anytime I see something that I think might be an interesting painting, I snap a photo of it and I have a whole album of stuff to be painted. And then I try to group it into categories. And then when I'm sitting to paint, I will prep maybe 10 to 20 canvases all at once and then work within that series. I found that that is extremely effective when trying to get into galleries, sell your work. People are a lot more likely to sort of come in on a series and then stick around for that. So I found that to be really effective marketing. A lot of what I've found since I've gone back to art is It's not just the art, it's the marketing of it and the community, which you guys know about. So I always prep with a red base. I wish I could tell you why, but I don't know why. And when I prep, I use a brilliant red. Don't mix it with anything. I use a palette knife to scrape it on, and then I use a paper towel to wipe off as much of the paint as possible, so I just have that tone with really not much paint on. I did this the other day, it's still a little wet. So I also have my rag. I buy always the large pack of the least expensive brushes because I go through them like nobody's business. The other thing that I figured was a barrier for entry with painting was I don't like to wash my brushes, so I don't. I buy more. Some might think it's wasteful, but if it's the difference between making art and not making art, I think that's okay. I have a fondness for the flat square brushes, these ones right here. And you'll see a lot of my work has squares in it, and that's where this comes from. And I'll show you how I use this almost as a scoop. There's a lot of scooping in my painting. But first we'll start with the photo. So one of my missions is, and you sort of touched on this, Kathy, was to capture all the things that I'll miss when they're gone. What really solidified that in my mind was I did a whole series of landscapes in Loomis, where I live. And one of the things I missed in that series was a barn on the road where I drive every day, and one day the barn was gone. So I thought, oh, darn, I should have painted that one. So I went onto Google Earth and found a photo, and I painted it. But all the things that I hold dear to me, I'm trying to capture. There are a lot of them. So this is actually down the street from me. It's a red truck. I painted this one here. So this is the same painting I'm doing now. My phone fell onto this one on the way here. It got a little smashed, but I actually think it's all right. Okay, so you'll notice there's a lot of disposable things in my art practice. Disposable palette paper is a lifesaver. I always start the same way. You'll hear mise en place, I think it's a cooking term, everything in its place. And I've heard it in regards to art as well, that if you aren't thinking through every single step, if you have a method that you use every single time, you aren't questioning yourself the whole time you're painting. So again, the barriers of entry. I made a plan and a method, and I pretty much follow it every time. First color I'm going to use is ultramarine, and I use a lot of paint. My biggest pet peeve that I see when I'm looking at art and paintings is I think that's not enough paint. Are we afraid of the paint? More paint. So that's why I use the inexpensive paint. If I can get it on sale, I'll buy all of it. And I'm talking and I did the wrong thing. Okay, get the orange out of here. Okay, crimson, we want crimson.
What was the second color?
Crimson.
Oh.
I put orange, but we're gonna ignore it because I was distracted talking. All right, so we got the ultramarine and the crimson. I'm making a dark purple. The orange belongs in there anyways. The orange is going to, since orange is the opposite of purple, it's gonna dull it out. And what I'm making here is my darkest dark color. This is what I use to sketch out my image on the canvas. I don't ever use pen or pencil or anything to sketch, I just go straight in with the paint. And I'm gonna sort of put in the bones. So I have a really dark purple color here. And to darken it even a little bit more, I'm gonna add some orange. It's gonna give us more of a dark brown. And that'll be good. Another thing I try to always tell myself is use the biggest brush possible. I'm constantly asking, am I using the right brush? I'll notice a lot of people will use the same brush through the entire painting, and we can tell. I printed out my image in black and white, and I put a grid on it. So we're gonna do like basic image transfer techniques. I'm gonna draw my grid on here. Doesn't have to be perfect. even if I took the same photo twice, 2 photos wouldn't look the same, so. Now I'm going for a smaller brush, and I'm painting with just this hard edge here. And now I'm just gonna sketch out the bones of the picture here. So just these lines where they're intersecting in my grid, just to give me my general shapes. So let's see here. Start down middle of this square to here. I'm kind of just giving myself some landmarks so that when I go in with different colors, I don't have to think about where things are. I'm just kind of coloring in at that point. I'm going up to the hood of the car, up to the window here. I like to paint scenes that have nature but also a building or a vehicle. I like there to be a little bit of a human touch. I also think just aesthetically I like there to be some straight lines somewhere. You don't get a whole lot of straight lines in nature, and I find that sometimes the landscapes just get a little too chaotic without something to anchor it. I also, when my family moved to Loomis, it was in 1950. It was all pear orchards at that point, and the street that we lived on was gravel. Or I didn't live there. My mom grew up there. It was gravel, and every single house had about 6 old trucks in their front field, and that's just the way it was. There were dogs that roamed the street everywhere, and it is definitely not like that anymore. There's a new house that was built that's, $4 million or so. Part of this is I've seen a lot of the change happen. I'm trying to preserve what I can in my paintings. All right, so that gives me the basic bones. Now I'm gonna go in and just fill in the dark shadows, and I can use a pretty big brush for this. And then when I work from darkest to light. And I use a lot of paint. I'm looking at my brush almost like a spoon or a shovel or a spatula. And then really laying it on here. It doesn't matter if I do too much because I'm gonna paint on top of this. And what I'm looking at in the image is the general shapes. So I'm just kind of filling in this whole block here and just copying, like, okay, there's a blob here. I also try to move my eye around the image a lot, trying not to get too focused or tied down in any one specific part, because that's where you can start to see some struggle happening. The nice thing about the oil paint too is if you really mess up, you can just scrape it off and start over. Before I went back to oil painting, I've tried almost every medium of art, it seems, but right before I went back to oil painting, I was watching a lot of cake decorating videos. And the cake frosting, I think, is what got me back interested in the oil and using so much heavy texture. And I start to think, if it makes me hungry, and if it looks like it would taste good, then I'm on the right track. That could just be my stomach always leading the way. All right. So now the next color I'm going to do is a dark green. I'm going to look at my color image here. And when I'm looking at the colors, I'm trying to break them down into just maybe a dark and a light, maybe a middle tone, but nothing more than that. Are there more shades of green in the trees? Absolutely. Do we need to put it in the painting? No. Another thing that I tell myself while I'm painting a lot is to paint what I see, not what I think I see. And that's always a big challenge, because you look at something, you think you see all this detail, but then when we're going through life just glancing at things, we're really just seeing blobs of color most of the time. So for my dark green, I have ultramarine again. This is my favorite color, I go through the most. Now I'm going to use the orange. I got excited before. I do have a theory that I like to annoy people with, that every color is just blue and orange. Which isn't not true, because orange is just red and yellow, so. The other thing I try to remind myself when I'm painting, especially with colors, is it cool or is it warm? Trying to keep anything in the shadows on the cool side, and then pushing anything in the light areas warm. And the more I can sort of exaggerate it, the better it ends up looking. Sometimes the colors seem like they're not too real life, but then when they're next to each other, it works. So here's my dark green, that's just the orange and the ultramarine together. And again, I have a lot of dark green on here, so I'm going to use a big brush. These brushes are crunchy, so I'm softening them up a bit. And I really use just one side, so I'm using it like a little spatula. And I often go left to right, I've noticed. You can look at a lot of my paintings and see the squares moving. I try to remember to vary my brush strokes a little bit. Go sideways sometimes, up and down. And when I'm filling in large areas like this, I try to have fun with my brush strokes. Because a lot of my paintings have sort of two different lives. When you get up close, they have a completely different personality than when you're far away. And I like to get lost in the different brush strokes and the texture. And I always try to take the color all over the painting, if possible. Does it have to be perfect? No. Nothing is perfect. When I was learning how to use oil painting, I was really aiming for a photorealistic style, and would drive myself absolutely crazy with tiny little brushes, trying to get every single detail to be accurate to a photo. And I would always be disappointed and never happy when I was painting. So after my long break of painting and I went back, I thought, well, I want to just have fun. So that's where this loose style came from. And I found that in being loose and painting what you actually see, instead of trying to paint like a camera, it turns out looking more realistic. So that was the dark green. Now I'm going to make the lighter shade of green, which is really almost yellow. I always tend to make it more green than yellow because my brain thinks there's no way it's just yellow, but it pretty much is. I use lemon yellow, which has a fair bit of white in it compared to a medium yellow. I'm going to add a touch of this dark green. This is going to make it a little bit of a muddier soft green because it has that orange in it. And the orange is like a muting color. If I went straight with the ultramarine, I'd get a little bit of a brighter, more blue green. I really just tapped my palette knife in there and put a tiny bit of that green, and I'm happy with that. And I still want kind of a big brush, but at this point, I feel like a lot of these brush strokes are the same size. So I might vary it up a little bit. And looking at my picture, a lot of this lighter color is sort of the dappled leaves up here, so I could do some smaller little speckles. But then down here, this is just a big solid color. I'm gonna wanna make one big brush stroke there. I like having different textures. I think of, you wanna have places that look a little chaotic, but then also some places for the eye to rest. Really now what I'm doing is I'm just gonna fill in most of the red part here in the trees and in the ground. I tried this brush and I'm not sure that it's the one for the job because I have a lot bigger areas. So I'm gonna go back to a bigger brush. This is also why I buy the big pack of brushes, because I'll go through a lot and then when I have a color on a brush, I put it aside. I try not to go back to it. I really try to avoid mixing colors on the canvas or with brushes unnecessarily. When I'm applying this green on top, I'm being really careful not to disturb the green underneath. And I'll show you, so I'm gonna fill in this. So when I'm going over the green, I'm just gently laying that on. And I picked up some of the paint on my brush. I'm gonna wipe that off on my palette and then go and pick up a clean little blob of the green. Because I don't wanna drag that streakiness all over the place. I'm not even really looking at my picture anymore. At this point, I'm just kind of filling in these gaps. I can leave some because I'm gonna wanna add in the sky. I always like to have a sky in my painting. It's another sort of just arbitrary rule that I gave myself, is that there has to be a blue sky. One of the first places I displayed my work was in a dental office. And I made a whole bunch of work knowing it was going in that space, and that's where the blue sky started, because I hate the dentist. And I thought if I could have a blue sky to look at, maybe it would be better. And so that's continued on. I'm wiping my brush off on my palette almost between every single stroke, or I'll flip to the other side because I don't want to drag that color underneath around. And I'm going to do this part at the bottom. This easel I got secondhand, and it's the only easel I've had, and I love it. But it's, I think, originally from Michael's. This easel goes everywhere with me.
I have a similar one, and
love
it's
it.
my favorite as
It
well.
has a drawer, too, that I used to use.
Yes.
When I was going out and doing plein air, I would throw everything in there and then just take this out. And it was nice because if you have the right size canvas, you can kind of clamp it in there securely. And hope your phone doesn't fall on it in the car. Again, I've kind of abandoned looking at my photo, which is also fine because I'm not going to display the photo next to the painting, so no one's going to know. All right. I think I'm happy with that. I'll just go in here. I'm kind of surrounding these areas that I'm going to leave red because that's where the sky is going to go. But if you think that's where the sky is, then the sun's probably coming through there somehow. So we're going to add a little bit more light around them. And that's fine. Now you can see my palette is pretty messy, pretty full. At this point, I'm going to take what I have left that I'm going to use for the rest of the painting and put it onto a different sheet and then toss this one. So I'm going to keep my purple. So that's the color I started with. That's sort of the base of everything. And take a little bit of this. A little bit of that. And then my favorite part is you just fold this up and it goes in the trash. Clean slate. I have this little building over here that is, it's kind of hard to see in my photo. Something I'll do, it's kind of hard to explain, but I use my phone a lot for taking the pictures, and also when I'm painting, I'll look at my phone screen and I'll use the color dropper to look onto the picture and put it in sections that I don't know what color that is. So I'll think, like, what color is this? Gray. I don't have gray, I don't have black, I don't know what. So I'll put the color dropper on there to see what color the phone says, and then I'll get the pen out and I'll squiggle a big thing and I'll look at, like, oh, it's purple. So that's how I spend a lot of time looking at colors and asking myself, what color is this? What color is this? What color is this? I drive my boyfriend absolutely nuts when I'm painting a lot, because I'll look at everything, I'll be like, that's blue and orange, and that has some crimson in it, and that, how do I make that? So I'm gonna go, I've decided that the building is purple. And it has two tones to it. So there's a shaded part, and then there's a part with the sun. I'm gonna use that original dark purple that I created. I put a little bit of titanium white on here, and then I think I'm gonna add some of this yellow to mute the purple a little bit, basically making a brown. I'm gonna use my brush with the yellow to mix. This is when things start to kind of devolve and the palette knives turn into brushes, brushes turn into palette knives. So I make like a very warm color, and I don't want it to be that warm, so I'm gonna go and add a little bit more of the ultramarine. Now it's a kind of a navy. I can live with that. Still a little dark, it's very close to my dark purple. So I'm gonna add some more white. I'm very, very careful when using white, because as soon as I start adding light colors, I have to avoid that area, because the white, once you start picking that up and dragging it places, it'll become a muddy mess very quickly. So, again, not being too careful, because I can't really, this building is hard to see to me, so I don't know what's there, neither does anyone else. So I think it kind of just looks like a bunch of purple blobs, and that's what I'm painting. Now for the lighter part, I'm gonna go into my white, I'm gonna add a little bit more yellow, and then I'm gonna add some orange, because I want to bring it warmer. Again, keeping the shadows and the cool tones and the highlights in the warmer tones. This is too dark. You see, I'm breaking my rules and I'm using the same brush now, but I'm doing a little progressive mixing, so it's gonna all work out. Too warm, we'll go over here. Mix it with some of this. Now the light is just coming through the tree here, so we're gonna put a couple little dapples. I might even need a smaller brush for that. I'm scraping the paint off this brush. Get a nice big glob. This is when there's paint underneath, you really gotta layer it on there. The thing that really stands out to me is the line on the roof, so I'll go ahead and add that. And then just kind of a light here. Works for me. Now that I'm in the same lightness, I'm gonna go into the front of the car. To me, it looks the same tone, so we'll just bring the same colors over there. Again, trying to keep the colors somewhat limited, not go too crazy. I like to have the colors jump around. So if I'm going to use one color in one place, I want to try to put it somewhere else as well. I'm using the edge of this square brush to really like scoop up the paint and then lay it on as if it was frosting. Precision not required. And then as I'm looking, this tire, it's kind of the same color as the building, so we're gonna add it in here. Now I'm gonna put this brush aside. I'm gonna go into this little rock or mound, because I have this orange that I've made from adding some orange and white to this purple. Just getting a big scoop over here. Lay that here. All right, now I want to start filling in the car. The car, again, I'm going to break it down into two or three colors at the very most. So I'm going to use a crimson for the dark parts, and then probably some orange and yellow for the brighter parts. Obviously, we already have red here, and it feels a little bit too bright. So the crimson is going to be much darker. And I'm just going to put in the shadows. The other thing I'm thinking about with this much texture is the direction of the brush strokes and how the light hits it. So I can make things darker depending on which way the strokes are. Most places you're having light from overhead, so this stroke is going to appear lighter because it hits every single ridge on the way down. Something like this has less light reflecting off of it. Alright. I'm going to use some of my lemon yellow and red. Another thing at home that I do is I don't ever put the caps back on. Another barrier to entry, saving time. I use my paints frequently enough that they don't dry out, and they're oil, they won't dry. I also find that because I'm using such texture, like with such texture, that when they dry out, it actually gets a little bit better. But if you go looking for this brand of paint, good luck. I think they've discontinued it.
Because you bought it all.
I bought it. I bought all of it in Placer County, so. I do have quite the stash. I'm just sort of filling in the rest of this truck here. So my grandmother on my dad's side was an art collector, and she bought art from Sacramento Davis artists. She shopped at the Candy Store Art Gallery in Folsom, and at the time everyone thought she was crazy and had such eclectic style and was wasting her husband's money, but she bought Wayne Thiebaud. And Gladys Nielsen. Does anyone know Gladys Nielsen? She was a Davis, one of the Davis artists as well. married to Jim Nutt. So I grew up around an art collection and art lovers, which made it a lot easier. So now I'm gonna go in, and fill in the little last bits of red. So I've missed this back tire. We're gonna just fill this in with the dark. At this point, I've gone over some of my lines that I started out with, and I've lost the shape of things. So I'm going back into my purple and just gonna redefine where those darks were. And again, every time I'm going on top of another color, I'm going back and I'm mixing it back into this purple, and it kind of just disappears. Because I don't want to drag the paint all over the place. Okay. I'm going to add in some of the cerulean. Cerulean I reserve usually just for the sky. And I'm going to put it into the window of the car because that is reflecting the sky. And I think having that little pop of blue that's nowhere else in here is going to help us see the whole picture come together. A lot of times when I'm painting, I am thinking, what the heck am I doing? This is turning out terrible. I don't know anything. And then I go back to the quote we started with, which is, my job is just to put paint on a canvas and not think about it or question it. And there's something for everyone. Will find something that they like somewhere. That is not my job. And a lot of times I will paint something and I will think, well, that's terrible. And I'll put it away and I'll come back to it years later and think, what was I thinking? That's amazing. A lot of the paintings that I sold just this last year were paintings I did in 2020 that lived in a drawer for 4 years because they were failures. And then I brought them out and people bought them. So trying to remind myself not to think about it too much is maybe the most important part of my practice. My truck looks kind of like a cyclops from where I'm sitting, but I'm gonna move over to this area here. And now, because I'm getting a little bit more in the details, I'm gonna use one of these long skinny brushes. This is what I'm going to use to make some lines. And I've added more white to my canvas. And I'm going to use some cerulean. I've added the cerulean over here to some of this sort of orangey color, just to dull it up a bit. I don't want it to be too bright. And then I'm adding white to that. And I'm going to fill in this part. Every once in a while, a real car head will look at some of my car paintings and be like, well, that doesn't make any sense there. But that's very rare. The hub. And then this bottom bumper on the car is reflecting a lot of the green from the grass. So I'm going back into the green that I brought over from my other canvas. Put some of that here. Now I'm going to add some more, let's see, add some more white. I'm gonna mix some white and cerulean and fill in these little red gaps at the top. Because at this point, I'm getting sick of seeing that red color. Just a tiny bit into the white. If I'm painting a whole series, I'll try to tweak each sky just a little bit. I'll either add a tiny bit of lemon yellow or a tiny bit of magenta to the sky to either make it a little bit cooler or warmer. Right now I'm just doing just cerulean and white. And then this is risky because I'm going to pick up those other greens, but I don't want to transfer them. So I'm wiping my brush off between every single dab or flipping it over using the other side. Because I don't want to have a green streaked sky here. Sometimes I will wait and let the painting dry and then go back and add my pops of the sky. I don't need to fill in every single spot of red. I found that that little bit of red peeking through is very appealing to people. Sure. I didn't like that, but I did it, but I don't like it. So I'm going to remove it. I'm using a clean brush, so let's scrape it off. And then I'm gonna get another brush. It's a little bit softer. That is why I like oils. And just nobody will ever know. At this point, I would definitely step back and think, okay, what's looking weird? And clean up some of these lines. The rock here needs some more dimension. And I need some more dark in here. But other than that, I'm quite happy with it. So I want to define this edge a little bit more. So I'm going to do sort of the same thing and just scrape it down. Wipe that off. At this point, I'm going back, looking at my brushes I've used to see what colors I have, so I don't have to grab a new brush every time. I'm just gonna change this. I like it. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of dark into the front of this truck. The dark on top of the light is very difficult because it really wants to pick up that white. What I'm doing while I drag the brush across is spinning it. And that's really squishing that dark paint on. It's like digging a channel into the light and then depositing that darker paint. I'm going to do the same thing up here with that tree. We started with a tree over here. It's kind of disappeared. And I'm going to add it back in. Use a bigger skinny brush and load up the whole side. And then our tree was kind of here. And then I sort of twist it as I'm going. Add a little branch. I don't mind picking up and dragging a little bit of that light color because there is a light reflecting on the top of that tree branch. So that doesn't bother me. I'm also just kind of having fun dividing up these little spaces with some straight lines. I'm gonna go back to this rock. This is the only thing that's really still bothering me because it just looks like a big flat shape. And I'm gonna add in another shadow color to sort of soften this barrier and then maybe pop a little bit of a highlight. So for the shadow, I'm taking my purple that I've been using since the beginning. We're gonna add a little bit of this orange with white in here. Since I don't have a lot of it, I'm going to use this flat brush like a spatula and just scrape all that up and then deposit it here. Does it want to stick? Not really. At a certain point, I do get to where I feel like the canvas is telling me it's done. There is a point where I cannot put more paint on it, and that is where I usually stop. We're almost at that point with this one. I'm gonna add just some tiny little specks of white where I wanna highlight, just on the side of the fender here, and then there's like a little bit here. Maybe over here, and then I'm going to call it. When I'm using white highlight, I still don't use just a pure white. I add just a tiny bit of orange. I'm going to use a brush to mix it because I've run out of space on my canvas to use a palette knife. But I don't want to use this one because I want to use that little point. Too much orange, I'm going to add some more white. And here I'm really just using the tip of this brush, lots of paint, and just daubing it on. Cleaning my brush on the palette between each stroke so it doesn't keep getting muddier. Any place I think the sun is hitting, so there's actually a little highlight right up here. Put that there. Might have been too much, but that's all right. We'll drag it here. And then I'm going to use the side of the brush and very gently drag it across here, hardly touching. I'm not putting hardly any pressure because if I did, it would slough all that other paint right off of there. And that is probably where I would stop. If I did want to clean my brushes or wash my hands, Dawn dish soap is all I use. I do not use any solvents since I've been painting with this method. I don't think it's necessary. Once it's fully dry, I do varnish. I like to use a matte varnish. I brought that with me to show you. I have no idea, Gambar satin. And that's what I do for all of them. And now if anyone has any questions, what's that?
When you varnish, you use a bigger brush?
I do. I will use, so from my same pack here, I would probably use this one.
Mm-hmm. And
Obviously,
then
if it didn't have paint on it.
one way or two ways? Or
I
what?
go both, and I'll usually lay it flat, and I'll pour it. The satin, you have to shake really well, or else you'll get gloss. Shake it really well, and then I pour it directly on, and then I brush both ways. And it dries in about a day. It dries really fast. if I'm painting on a canvas, most of my paintings, aside from like little practice ones like these, I'll use a deeper canvas. And I bring my image all the way around to the edges. So this is my favorite canvas to use. I should be sponsored by Michaels. You might, if anyone's a Michaels customer, you'll notice this is all Michaels. I will wrap the image around. Oftentimes I forget to do that while I'm doing it, or because I can't then grab it, I'll come back later and I'll do like 2 edges, and then I'll wait for that to dry, I'll do 2 more edges. I brought a couple books if anyone wanted to look at them. These are my biggest influences. Wayne Thiebaud, of course, how could we not? Something about the way the paint is layered and the colors. I mean, of course he paints a lot of food, but just the texture looks edible. And that's something I try to go for in mine, if it looks edible. Elmer Bischoff is another California, Sacramento, Bay Area artist that I grew up looking at his art and didn't even know it. But this is another one of my biggest influences in the sort of loose style. And then there's also this book that's in Russian, so I don't know anything about it, but there's some incredible paintings in here. I also brought my cards if anyone wants a card. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long do you let the oil painting dry before you paint it?
So it depends on the time of year. During the winter months, it can be 3 months, 4 months before it dries, especially with how much paint I use. In the summer, it could be a week, it could be a month. If I'm painting commissions, I always tell people at least 2 months for it to dry. And I'll varnish like when it's dry to the touch, but I don't fully trust any of the paint to be dry fully through until it's been at least a year.
Yes. What is your opinion about the water-based oil paints as opposed to the regular oil?
I have never used them, but I've heard a lot of good things. I know a lot of artists that do use them, and I can't visually tell the difference. I've never looked at something and thought, oh, that's a water-based oil. But I've never actually used it, so I don't know what the texture is like. One of my favorite things about the oil paint and about this brand specifically is the creaminess of the texture, so that's just a big part of the whole attraction to the process for me.
How do you store your paintings while they're drying?
So these I'll probably be leaving I'll leave them on an easel. I have a couple easels that I use. The ones that have more depth, I hang them on my wall. So I have 2 studios. I have a studio, and then I also work in my house because the studio doesn't have heat or AC. So as you know, around here, that's a very limited window. So my house is usually full of all my in-progress things. Same thing when I'm starting a new series and I prep all the canvases, it'll be completely full of red canvases, and then I'll be so sick of red. But I do think an important part of my process is having it hanging where I will see it over and over and over while it's drying, and I will come back sometimes within a couple days and tweak things. So like this one I did yesterday, and then had it sitting for a couple hours, and I thought, well, the tires are too close together, so I had to go fix the tire. I used to have a lot of angst over selling my work. I didn't want to part with things. They were my precious babies. And I found that if I lived with something for about a year, I don't care as much. So I like to have them in my house until they're fully dry and varnished, and then they move on to the next thing. But I do like to live with them. Yeah.
It's kind of late.
Oh, you're fine.
You say you put a base coat of red?
Yes.
Why is that?
So I like to think that the red is contrasting with the green, and it does something to sort of pop the greens forward. I've tried to research why the red. I know a lot of artists do a red underpainting. Even the Elmer Bishop, you can see some of his red underpaintings underneath, and I really don't have a clear answer why. I have played around with different underpaintings. When I first started painting again, I was doing gray. And I can look at that body of work and the whole thing looks gray. There's a lot more vibrancy with the red. I will occasionally get really sick of red and do orange. Another reason though why I personally do the red is that I don't use it anywhere else in my painting. So it's not a hot commodity in my studio. I can stand apart with a lot of red, if that makes sense. Whereas I always am running out of orange, and it would hurt to use a whole tube of orange on a base. I'm working on a new body of work that has no green in it. I'm painting NASCAR tracks and cars, and that has a lot of blue and purples. So I've been playing with doing like a more blue tone base, and it changes the whole tone. Even if you can't see it, it has a different, like the whole thing feels cooler versus hot. Yeah. But I wish I had a better answer why. If anyone knows, tell me.
It might take a lot of therapy to answer the question.
Oh, that's tomorrow. I'll ask her. Yeah.
More questions?
And why don't you use mineral spirits in your brushes versus soap and water? I mean, no, it's a little more.
Yeah, there are a lot of reasons. One, I don't like the smell. I don't like the consistency, the feel. I have a lot of texture is a big deal for me. I don't like the slipperiness of it. I also had my high school art teacher got blood poisoning from washing herself with mineral spirits and turpentine. So when it's something that I'm using on a daily basis and also in a small space, I just eliminated it. And I'm not washing my brushes anyways, so what's the point? And I want thick paint. I don't want anything to cut down on the thickness of my paint. Also, when I have introduced it, it felt like it was eating away at the paint on the canvas if it got mixed. So, that's
Well,
nice.
I was a house painter for
Oh,
for
God.
40 years, and I used to wash every day. It didn't affect me.
Yeah. Oh. Clearly. Oh, that's so funny. We're gonna probably find there's like Dawn is also toxic somehow. I think Dawn is the least toxic thing. So, yeah. Any other questions? Thank you guys. Thank you
Probably not inundate you with questions because you talked through the whole thing, explaining
Oh my
what
gosh.
you were doing. And that was fabulous.
Oh,
That
good.
was absolutely fabulous.
Oh, good.
I don't think you took a breath at all.
One thing I was really not worried about is that I would have a problem talking for a full hour. Again, I've worked in retail. I talk.
You're painting, you're deciding what you're gonna do, and yet you're talking and explaining what you're doing. It was
So
wonderful.
one of
Thank you.
my side hustles is 1 minute portraits, and you guys can Google me and I've been on the news doing 1 minute portraits, and it's a blind contour drawing, and I spend the whole minute talking. So it's a muscle that I've developed.
Well, it's a good
Nice.
one.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Hang on to it.
Thank you.
Okay, let's take a break and we'll be back here the 3:45, okay? We got the forms. We got the forms that will satisfy the liability for the senior center. Did everybody get a form? Carolyn so graciously passed them out. Who did not get a form?
Everybody did.
Okay, if you would just fill it out with your phone number and then get it back to Carolyn, she'll make sure it goes to the right place. Thank you. Another announcement. We've got the snack sign up for the meetings for the year. I think it's the year. Yep, it's
No,
the year.
is it for the whole year?
It is for the whole year.
Really?
Yeah. Okay, so what I'd like to do is, don't be shy, you guys. Put your name next to a date, okay? And I'm gonna start that over here. Okay. can I give you guys that? And then, pass it from table to table, okay? Signing up, I know you already did, Sylvia. That's good. Okay, another thing, it's a matter of business, and what I'd like to do is I need your affirmation. That's a big word. But we have a couple of changes on the board, and I just need to have you guys say, oh yeah, that sounds great, okay? We have got Donna Nelson. Donna is replacing Deborah Enns as our secretary. Suzanne Davis, who happens to be in Australia right now, is replacing Deb Walker as our hospitality chair. And we've got Matt Harleen, did I say that right?
Good.
Gasoline Harleen,
Yes.
replacing Myra Cooper as the chair for the studio tour. And so because we've had changes, I just need you as a group to say yay.
Yay!
It's official, okay, all right. Couple of notes I'm gonna take. When we're finished, then we're going to do the let the blanks do the talking demonstration or presentation.
And flowers.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna pick my number. Okay, art lunch is this Thursday at the Burning Barrel Brewery. The BBB.
Nobody's coming yet. Oh, good, Sherry Lynn. Okay, oh, good, Jerry. Everybody hit me with the text message. Shirley Rowe, you coming?
Yes. And I'm
All right.
gonna come too.
Oh, party. We got a
Yeah,
party.
we got-
All
we got ourselves
right.
a party.
What's the address?
It's
We've
across
got,
from the Independent.
we've got Jerry Litwin standing here on the sideline, so I'm gonna jump to Jerry. There is a plein air contest, and it's coming up in April, and I'm gonna have Jerry tell you about it because she's heading it up, okay?
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm very soft-spoken. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay, good. So I also go to the Folsom Art Group in Alderwater Hills. They started having plein air art groups. We've had the longest running plein air group of people, I think of anybody. But with everybody else being interested, I thought, well, wouldn't it be fun if we have a plein air art competition? And I thought, well, it's not fair for me to ask this of one now and then not share it. If we're going to make a suggestion, take ownership of it was my kind of thought I should do. So it is going to be April 26th, a Saturday. It's going to be at Greenstone Country
Estates.
No,
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 not
no,
estates.
no, that's a trailer park.
Community. Yes,
That's
thank
it.
you.
Okay.
They have 3 lakes, they have a barn. The barn, the lakes have picnic tables and restrooms. So, really nice place to go. Because it's our first attempt at doing a competition, I didn't want to be inundated with a lot of people. This is our trial run. It's hopefully going to be an annual event, so this is our first annual. So we're limiting it to 25 artists. And it's open to everybody. So it's going out, the announcement's going out to Folsom, to Alderwater Hills, to the Art Club of California, the Sacramento chapter. So if you want to do this event, it opens for entry on Wednesday. Be sure to go to the website and register right away if you want to get in it, because
It's
it's limited to
$35.
25.
It's $35, right?
$35 entry fee.
And it'll be a registration from our website. I'll push you over to Entry Thingy, and you'll make your registration on Entry Thingy.
Yeah, it's your entry fee. Yes,
So can you just go do the plein air without being in the contest?
let me think about that again, because it's the first time doing this. Vespa was mentioning that too, so I'll get back to you on that one. I just want to make sure that we stay organized and focused for the people in the competition first. So let me think about that one.
Well, the only reason I would say that that could become an issue is we'll be giving out the gate code for Greenstone the day ahead to the participants.
That's
And
true.
I don't know how the residents there are gonna feel if we end up with a lot of extra people.
Yeah.
Although we do want to, you know, we'd love to have people come to see the work at the end of the day, so
Correct.
that is definitely something we need to kind of.
We need to check with our Greenstone liaison
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. So, Marty asked me that again in February, at the February meeting, and maybe I can have an answer for you. So, anyway, I think it's pretty exciting, and, if you do plein air, I hope you will participate. Thank you.
Super. Sue, would you like to come up? Sue's got something she'd like to talk to us all about.
So today is the day that we need to know how many of you want to do the honeycomb project.
Get a little closer to that mic here, please. Thank you.
Today is the deadline. Today's the deadline I need to know if you want to participate in the honeycomb project. I have some spare boards. PAA is doing this project as a group, and so we are providing the honeycomb boards. Linnell has graciously wired them. They need to stay this way because the installation will be hung with the boards together, like a honeycomb. There's some papers on your tables. The most important thing you need to know to do the honeycomb, with the requirements, the prospectus, so to speak, is on the back of the sheet. And after today, I will email everybody who's on the list just to confirm that they've got that again. The deadline for PAA is June 16th at the meeting here. I could maybe take a May at our meeting here, but I can't do it now. Terry was finished with her piece and wanted to give it to me today, but my house is a literal disaster. It would get literally lost in the house. Candace, who's the curator, she's also an instructor at, I wrote it down, at the Truckee Meadows Community College. And she's done this kind of project before. And so I'm the liaison between you guys and her. And she sends me some updates, and she's got some exciting news. She's got 2 more galleries. So this is an installation traveling project, and right now it's going out till 2028. And the last 2 galleries, last 2 places that are going to take the show, unless she adds on more, one's in Las Vegas and one's in Reno, and they have said they will facilitate the sale of these. Candace didn't know that when she started this, how she was going to do that, but the 2 facilities that the pieces will go to in 2028 said that they will do that. So we'll need additional information from you guys. I'll find out what she needs and send that along via email to you. So it starts being displayed at the Metro Gallery in Reno, at Reno City Hall, September 22nd, 2025. And then she's got some slots open, and I'm hoping that one of the slots will be the MAC. Cheryl and Candace are also talking, so maybe the whole installation will be at the MAC someday too. So then, otherwise it's all in Reno, in Nevada, except for in the fall of 2027, it's in Idaho. So see me if you want. We have some spares today, and again, Placerville Art Association is providing these to our members. And yeah, that's pretty much it, unless you have questions.
How many have signed up? How many are on board with it?
Candace has over 200. And we have, oh, I left my list in there. We have maybe 22, 23.
wow.
Something like that.
Good.
Oh, and also, the other thing I forgot to say, she'll need an artist statement, and I'll provide, don't worry about it now, with 200 words or less, and she's making magazines. And you'll be able to buy the magazine. So that if, as a group, we could do it as a group, but I think we should do it singularly, so each person will have a photo of their piece, and then there's artist statement. And then Candace thinks that there will be many volumes, and we'll be able, you'll each have an individual page, and the books are going to be magazine format, so people can order the magazine that they want. And she figures that there'll probably be many volumes. So of course you want the one that you were in. And if you don't want to sell, that's okay too. Candace will take them back, and we'll arrange to get those back. All that's later stuff, but, so that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Oh, and it will also be our challenge in June.
Oh, yeah.
These finished pieces will be our art challenge in June.
Ooh, that sounds good. 22 have signed up already. That's great. Matt, I'm going to bring Matt up. Matt's going to talk to us about it's a surprise.
So on each of your tables, there were several things. One was a studio tour application. Another one was an invitation to all of our artists in the Placerville Arts Association to participate in the studio tour, which is coming up in September, the 26th, 27th, and 28th. I'll let you read that. I'm not going to read it to you. And I also wanted to let you know that we will be having a meeting for people who want to participate in the studio tour. Our first one will be on January 22nd at the Rayleigh's on Placerville Drive in the community conference room that they have in the back of the building there at noon that's a Wednesday, January 22nd. We will also have Zoom available. Actually, on the back of this one, the invitation, there's information about all of those meetings. We've got one in January. We don't have that. The Rayleigh's Conference Center wasn't available in February, so we're having it in March, April, May. We have a meeting each of those months, just one meeting a month. And we appreciate all of your help and all of your participation. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, good information. You know, you guys affirmed him to be the chair. He said he's going to be on a step stool to get up to the chair. But I think he's at the chair already. He is so cute. I want you guys to dig deep in your hearts, and I want you to think about this. The Motherlode Show, which had its 58th year this past November, is going into its 59th year this year. And Sue Wickersham and Carolyn Cunningham have been chair and co-chair for this. And Sue is going to be stepping down in 2026, which means
No,
that
2027. She's given us 2 years' notice,
59 and 60.
right?
5 and 6.
No, 5 and 6, yes. So 2027, we're going to need a new chair.
Right,
Okay.
right. So here's what we are thinking. It has been tweaked, and it's got, my gosh, Carolyn and Sue have this down to the minute detail of how this thing runs. And it runs like a Swiss watch. And they're going to have a book that they're putting together with all of the jobs that need to do and need to come. And there's a lot of us that do our own volunteering for this program. What we're looking for is someone, and again, go deep in your hearts and think about, is this something that you might do? Because what we'd like to do, if you're interested, is that maybe you could shadow Sue. Carolyn, are you gonna be co-chair? Okay, Sue and Carolyn for a couple of years, so that come 2027, you guys can just zip right in. Okay? Think about it. Thank you. Okay. Couple of things, and then we're going to get down to the nitty gritty. The Harris Show, you know, we've talked about the Harris Show at the Bank of America Gallery at the Harris Theater. Well, it's kind of been moved, and we've got 2 months. We've got October and December of this year.
No, we do not. We have been
Oh,
canceled.
it went to May? No.
2027. Not even anything we need to talk about. We were under the impression that we had it for the tail end of 2025. She informed me last week that we've been bumped to 2027. So off the calendar for now.
Take the Harris Center out of your mind.
There you go.
I even said it.
That's the announcement.
Zip, okay. Switchboard Gallery. It's been all over the newsletter. Linnell has worked her butt off, sorry about that, but her butt off for this. And we've got a reception for the Switchboard Gallery, and it's going to be on, I don't know the day, but it's January 23rd.
Thursday.
That's a Thursday. And there is a reception, and it's from 6 to 8, and it would be wonderful if we could all show up.
And the gallery is buying the food, so let's go eat it.
Yeah, free food and drinks, yeah. Burt Junction is exciting. Last year we were there for one day with a festival, and this year they're going to have it again, and it's going to be May 10th. And guess what? PAA gets the whole entire train station, which is a cute, adorable setting, and inside.
Okay, this is what I get for not filling in Kathy every meeting that I have. And we did go out there this week, and we walked the train station, and there was not a single place that would accommodate a 10 by 10 pop-up. So we will be in the parking lot adjacent to the train station.
Can we be inside?
The inside is filled with Bill Glasser's junk. And so they were gonna put us under the canopy, but there's steps, it's dangerous, and there's no place to put shade. So we'll be in the parking lot.
Okay, I like my version better. What do you want, Sherry?
That's Mother's Day weekend.
Yes, it is.
Okay,
I just wanted to ask all you mothers.
so come and buy something, okay?
Yeah, Bob,
Okay,
Sherry
thank
needs
you.
art.
Thank you for
I'm sorry.
setting us straight, but yeah, I like my version better. The member show at the Government Center. Carolyn heads that up. The dates are April 7th through the 11th, and it is medium-based. I think it's medium. Media is
Multiple mediums.
Talking.
No, multiple mediums. Media is either, it can be said media or mediums. It both means the same thing. Media is the exclusive use of one type of paint or art
sculpture.
supply. So,
Okay, what it means is, so like the watercolors, landscape
no,
will be
no,
together.
watercolors, media.
Mediums, however you want to call it. There's oil, these are the categories. Oil, acrylic, water media, pastel and drawing, photography, mixed media and collage, miscellaneous, what am I forgetting?
Where does-
Sculpture.
And sculpture. So there are 8 categories.
Sculpture. I'm always last.
It was in my mind when I was going over this earlier. But pretty soon, not yet, pretty soon, these categories in great detail will be on I don't know if it's the website or the newsletter, but there'll be the entry rules, the entry forms, and then a whole separate thing that lists all the different categories and what's included in the categories. And I apologize for miscellaneous for now, because we can only have so many categories, or it gets a little out of hand.
I know,
Okay,
I'm the
you're
bastard.
below me. You're miscellaneous.
Nobody's below anything.
Which also includes the loose cannon category, miscellaneous.
Of which you take the cake.
So if you have questions, you're welcome to ask me, and just like before, or how it's been recently, we need to contact Kathy, don't do it yet. If you have a piece of 3D work that you need a pedestal for, because we have, how many total now? I have 2, she has 3, and you have?
4.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, we have 9.
We have
Yeah.
9 pedestals, so
We
if
have
you
9.
3D work, you need to reserve one.
Okay, again, this is off the subject. Does the gallery, the switchboard gallery, have enough pedestals?
I'm gonna take my 3 and that should do it.
They're good.
Okay. Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
sweetie
You're welcome.
pie.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it for the announcements. We got through them, and now we get to do the grand finale. But before we do that, Wendy Braun, are you? Oh, you are. Okay, hi, Wendy.
Hi.
Wendy has donated the let the blanks do the talking.
Media.
Let the blanks do the talking medium. But isn't it just one media? I'm sorry.
We've got cardboard, we've got wood, we've got metal, we've got everything.
We got carried away is what we got. But Wendy has donated these, and they came from her mother's estate, Patricia Ware. Does anybody know? I mean, the name Patricia Ware sounds so familiar.
I brought a picture of my mom.
Oh, okay. And Wendy would like to share with us a couple of paintings from your mother.
Bring the things that you
Oh, I just
brought in that
brought-
were
I
painted.
just brought-
Go up there and just say, this is my mom and this is what she painted.
And Wendy, I only do what Linnell tells me.
This is show and tell. While Wendy's walking up, she told me that her mom started out in the Pennsylvania area and then moved out here. And a few years ago, we would have seen her doing a lot of painting outdoors around Main Street. And I thought that was interesting. And so maybe you'll recognize Patricia from the photo, and maybe you saw her painting on Main Street at one of these days.
Well, this was my mom just 2 years ago in 2023. I didn't get a whole bunch of pictures here, but just, my mom came here and, first of all, thank you. This is such a, I try not to cry because it's really special. What do you do for an artist's estate? You know, I was the one who wanted to, I'd watch my mom even when I was younger, but I was the one in her art studio who was like, okay, let me balance your checkbook. Let's organize the all of the books, because she had classes, and I'd organize the paints and check them off when inventory was coming in. I took care of the business end of things, and then I would trace what was in the magazine or the pattern books that she had slews of, and I would trace them and color them and things like that. And I'd tidy up. My dad would be down in the basement cutting the wood, or making the cutting metal. I don't know if anybody saw the medicine chests that she had, but my mom would either paint the panels, or my dad and her would pierce tin, and it would go into the oven at night. We'd be upstairs sleeping above the kitchen, and we'd smell sulfur and whatever it took to make the shiny tin turn gray. And or you'd hear Mom down there, you'd hear boom, 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 boom. It's in memory of her and my dad working together to get these pieces out to either people that commissioned her to do them, or we did art shows. Mom did art shows, and Dad would help her and my dad had his wood shop in the basement, and I would be there. I would, you know, make sure that he wasn't going to cut himself, and I'd blow the sawdust off the line so he could stay. That was my job, and so my dad's still living. My parents divorced, and when I was in high school, we lived in Pennsylvania, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and my mom. I got married, moved to California. My mom followed me out here in '93 when I had the only grandkids. And my dad's still living. He's going to be 91. He's remarried. He lives in Florida. But he's still a big part of what she's doing, so I can't wait to show him what you all have done with her pieces. I ended up, she didn't belong to the Arts Council, but she did paint, and she did High Hill, or the ranches, I think she did like Honey Bear Ranch, or she'd go around to the ranches and sell her things there. And then she worked, she's made Christmas ornaments, and she'd take them down to Main Street, and there was a Christmas shop down there, and she would sit and she would paint there, and she'd always thought it was so funny to say, I have Christmas balls, and I'm like, Mom, they're ornaments. She thought it was, you know, it was just goofy, and I'd always be on her about that, and she's probably like, why are you telling that story, Wendy? But anyway, beautiful Christmas ornaments, and people would come in and buy those, and she had them in boxes, and in fact, I just found a little price tag or something today, and it was like, she had made a little sign. It was before, I guess, she had a colored printer, so she printed out black and white, and then she painted the little paper sign, and it was like $8 a piece with a box. But anyway, all these special little memories, and I had this whole storage unit when she passed away. She lived at Eschaton, Lincoln Manor. And she had everything in storage for so many years, and she just couldn't get rid of them. We tried to like bring them into her apartment to get her to paint, and she came to my house and we painted a little bit. And but when she passed away, I was like, Mom, you know, she kept saying we need to go through the storage unit, but she just didn't have the heart to get rid of all of these, all the wood and just everything that you've seen. Or I don't know if everybody's seen them, but you know, van loads full. And yeah, so I saw it all, and I'm blown away by just what I've seen there, you know, as I can remember just the book, the Christmas book. I was like, I knew what it looked like. I was like, God, this is so cute, but I don't know what to do with it. So just whoever did that, and I just saw a beautiful embroidered box, which has a parrot on it, which has a whole story. My younger sister passed away at 41, and we had a memorial for her in Florida, and it was at a house that we rented. It was called Parrot's Perch. So parrot is a symbol for my sister's spirit. And so when I see this beautiful box with a parrot on it, and it's my mom's box with a parrot, you know, I'm just like, wow, so special. Just everything back there is really special. I didn't know what I was going to do with it all, you know, and I gave all of her magazines to the library, and her books, her art books. So hopefully they're selling them and making some money for the library, and I'm just really appreciative. I'm appreciative of the community, the artist community, for what you've done for my mom.
And we appreciate you giving us something to work with so that we could give this back to you.
Thank you. I mean, it means the world to me. You have
Thank
no
you.
idea.
Thank you. And show us your mom's painting.
Oh, this is just one piece that she had done back in. It was the only thing I had at my house. The storage unit's filled with painted pieces. This was just so ships. She did this in '93, towards the end of her. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't
That's
realize
all right.
how this worked. And then just the inside. But to buy these, our family didn't have a lot. And so, especially when my mom divorced, it's just so interesting to see how women, when they, her generation, the way she started, you know, she started at Carnegie in Pittsburgh, taking classes when she was a young girl, and then moved, you know, got married and moved on, and then she just had this spark of art in her, and she ended up painting. I found these things when I was cleaning out her storage unit, magazines from House Beautiful, and back in like the 50s, and women were looking to find ways to make money, earn money on their own away from their husbands, it seemed, and they were inspiring women to learn how to paint. And so my mom would paint, and then she would send her lessons out to somewhere in the Midwest, and then the teacher would review them and comment on them, and I have handwritten letters that came back to her in Pennsylvania, you know, telling her how she could, you know, correct things or improve. And so it started out like that, and then she ended up learning to paint with Priscilla Hauser and some other women that were in the Tolan decorative painting, and moved along, and then was able to open a studio, an art studio she called the Painted Daisy. That we had at our home growing up, and so she taught classes, and that went on for into the 80s until my parents divorced, and then yeah, so on we go. So here I'll finish speaking, but I'm just so touched, and I'm just
Thank you for coming today, and thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you.
I don't know what to do with a whole studio or a whole storage unit full of painted pieces, but maybe I'll be inspired by somebody's ideas here. So I can't keep them all. I'd have to build a bigger house. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, now the pièce de résistance. It's time for Let the Blanks Do the Talking. And I have a list, and there's 12. 12 is an even dozen. 12 is a nice number. Think about it. Okay, so I'm going to call on Vesla. Vesla is number 1.
When you guys show them, remember to show them to the camera too, so we can get them on the film or digital.
I think I need to lower these things.
Where do you want me?
Well, here? Yep. That's good.
That works.
That's good.
I like this idea a lot. I had a lot of fun. I've been feeding the birds recently since I got my hearing aid. No, I got new eyes. That's what happened. I got cataracts fixed, and I can see the birds. So I had to paint a bird. And I haven't done crafts in a really long time, so I got out my glue gun, and it still worked. Put some twigs on it, so maybe that's my new thing.
Very nice.
What
Very
kind
creative.
of bird is it?
Well, it's a nuthatch. It's a little tiny thing. Really cute.
And just FYI, if you're entering that in the member show, that would be the, which category?
Miscellaneous, no, mixed media. Mixed media.
That's right, keep it out of my category.
Okay, Linnell.
Yes, I'm next. Okay, this will be interesting because I don't think you're going to be able to see it, but this little pig just got left on the table and nobody wanted it. And so, let me see if I can get this little pig. There we go. So I just did a little pig with a tattoo thing.
Oh my gosh, I thought that was yours. I never got to tell you.
Yes, of course that's mine, right?
Yes.
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 See, even if you're not real artistic, you can participate.
Adorable.
Okay, now for some real art, because Wendy Scarlett's next, right?
Yes.
So she couldn't be here today, so she emailed me. And now we're going to see, there we go. And she took a little wooden bowl, and so that is,
Oh, that's inside the bowl.
yeah, that rooster is painted inside that bowl. Pretty cool.
Whose was that?
Wendy Scarlett.
Wendy Scarlett.
Wendy Scarlett. Okay, Sue. Sue is next. Sue Wickersham.
So I took a star and did a mosaic on it. There you go. And the giving will keep going because this is going to go to the MAC for their yearly auction for the schools. Last year they raised $20,000.
Wow.
And you also talked about taking some more of the blanks for your mosaic group, which we're
Yes.
gonna do, Wendy. We're gonna pass some of the blanks on to another group in town.
I teach, facilitate a mosaic group in El Dorado Hills. And so I asked Linnell if she wouldn't mind if she donated some of the blanks to that group. And so, and some of the ones that you probably saw that are gone because she had to leave early was from the mosaic group. So.
Thank you, Stu.
Yeah, thank you. It's sharing the love, it just keeps going, that's great. Carolyn is next.
I had no idea what to do with this thing. First I thought it might be a butt, but so I just, actually it had a thing sticking out on it that kind of reminded me of my nose, but I took it off because I didn't know what to do with that. And I have a bucket full of old buttons and this paper, so I just got a piece of mirror and covered the whole thing. So there you go. It even has a hanger on it, so if you want it.
Now, Carolyn, if this were gonna be in the member show, it would be in what category?
Miscellaneous,
Oh.
because it hangs, but it's not gonna be. But it would be a miscellaneous.
Why not mixed?
Why not what?
Mixed, media.
It could be mixed media and collage, I suppose.
be
So,
3D.
and here's, no, it can't be in 3D because it is not intended to be seen from all sides. Because that's the definition of of sculpture three-dimensional. And that's the thing about some of these categories is sometimes the artist gets to decide, because she's right, I could put this in mixed media and collage, or I could put it in miscellaneous.
We try to use these as educational
Yes.
opportunities.
So if you're ever not sure, you can ask me, but obviously, I don't always know the answer either, so there you go.
But all the buttons are so color coordinated,
Well,
it's beautiful.
Thank you. I kind of like
Beautiful.
it. Everybody else's is all real colorful, and mine is just,
I know,
it's like oatmeal.
put that in the member show.
We need neutrals in our life too.
I do.
Okay,
Well, I
Miss,
heard, wait, one more thing. Who told us that the new, she and I belong to a collage club, it's a Zoom thing, in fact, I gotta remember to go on
Tonight
tonight.
at 5
And
o'clock.
one of the ladies said, you know how the colors every year of decorators and
Yeah.
what's in style? Mocha.
No, it's
I thought she said mocha.
It's Sierra.
Yeah, mocha.
It's Sierra, what's it called?
Sienna Brown?
Yes.
Sienna Brown, mocha.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's right there.
okay, whatever you said. Sherry Lynn Morris, come on up. Come on up. We have a blank
The
space.
tree, of course.
Oh, the tree,
And it's all blank.
oh, that is goodness.
There it is.
Oh, my goodness.
And then you painted your husband, how nice.
Yes, I
Yes.
started making him a Santa. I didn't want to make him a Santa, so.
Oh, that tree is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
Very nice, Sherry Lynn.
Has a little dove on there too, but. you
Very
can't
nice.
see him.
Good job. Good job. Lori, oh, there's Lori.
Boy, those are tough acts to follow.
And you betcha.
I don't paint, I don't draw a straight line, I don't do anything like that. So it's just bling of the angel with a lot of glitter. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Glitter artist. Thank you, Lori. Marilyn, where's Marilyn? There she is. Oh, look at that. You serving it up, huh? Okay.
Oh, Marilyn's the one that left the pig. Marilyn took the other animals
I
and
didn't
left.
realize they were a set.
You discriminated against the pig, but that's okay. I made him whole.
This little piggy cried all the way home. All right, so I don't do flowers.
Yes, you do.
I've never paid flowers, and so I got halfway through it. I really panicked. I thought, what am I going to do? So I just kept slopping on the acrylic paint, and that's what I ended up with.
Yeah. Now you do flowers.
Marilyn, you do everything.
So this is, I don't know what, probably a camel,
A giraffe?
a giraffe. I never could figure out what it was. Bunny rabbit,
Yes.
It was a Noah's Ark, it was a Noah's Ark collection.
and the ostrich.
Ostrich, yeah. It came from a Noah's Ark collection.
Yay!
Who's next?
Kari Ullman,
Carrie Allman. She
Is
took
it-
off.
is it Carrie?
Scratch her. It's Carrie. Scratch. She's gone.
And so is Terry.
Scratch?
And so is Terry Meyer.
Terry Meyer's gone also.
Terry's not on here. Shirley Rowe, where are you? Oh, there you are. There you are.
Well, so while Shirley's working her way up here, I saw a great meme today that was this big fat lion with the ark in the background, and he said the buffet was excellent. There was 2 of everything.
What you got?
She's hiding it. She's keeping it a secret till she gets up here to the front. She's all like, what?
I didn't finish it.
Oh.
Just my life is so hectic right now. I have a family that came over from the Ukraine, so an extended family. So it's just like I need more family like a hole in the head. But I love them dearly, and they're beautiful people. In any case, I picked the book box, and it opens up somehow. Oh, this way. And I didn't finish it. I painted the inside. I'm going to put some felt on the bottom. I picked this material to put on there, which is a big mistake because it frays. And the thing was, is this material belonged to my mother-in-law, and she had chairs covered with this material. So, and she's not with us anymore. So it's kind of thing my mother. But anyway, as I was rummaging through my stuff, I came across an embroidery piece that I did a while back, and I go, this would be perfect for my little box. Yeah. So it's a little,
There's the parrot.
it's an embroidered parrot.
Nice. Very
so,
nice.
So when it's done, it's going to look really good.
That's the parrot book box.
Yeah.
that Wendy
Wonderful,
was talking about.
wonderful.
It is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is it Marty Winkler?
Marty, you signed the wrong one.
Marty signed the wrong one.
Probably aren't gonna get those out.
Well, come up with something. Debbie. And
You
Debbie.
signed the, I'm gonna show something. Oh. The sheriff.
Oh, Bill's got one too.
I did 3.
And I've got one.
So, this one, oh, sorry.
No, you're doing great. I'll get you.
Little,
Adorable.
it's kind of going with like a Slavic art, folk art sort of theme because that's my ancestry.
Wow. Nice, nice.
And then this one I didn't, I mean, it was a weird shape. So.
Wow, those are awesome.
That's amazing.
Bill brought one. If he's not on the list, Robinson's got one.
And Matt, yes.
And Matt's got one too.
Go ahead.
Oh, the boys didn't sign up.
No, you did not
Renegades.
sign.
Renegades.
They don't know how to follow instructions. So, can you see that?
Yes.
And this says trees to me.
Everything says.
Everything says trees.
And Bill, you got?
Bill's got one too.
Oh, I love this.
This is another book.
Oh, wow.
And the front of it said Christmas dreams. See this?
Christmas dreams.
Wow.
Very cool.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Very nice work, Bill. Thank you, thank you. And Mountain Mail was gracious enough to facilitate a handoff from me to Bill on this book. So I dropped it in town for him and he picked it up from Mountain Mail.
Ellen's got
And,
some.
Ellen's got one for us.
You did not listen to instructions either.
Nonetheless, it's something we love about artists.
What were the instructions? I don't know. This is
Okay, let
just
me
a
get
piece
a
of berry pie, and it's got some candy on top.
Oh, that's
Very nice.
Put it towards the camera.
There we go. Oh, yes.
That's great.
And a little layer of blueberry.
All right.
Hey, I'm not standing up. Somebody else is coming up. No? That's
No, I
it?
think that's it. I think
Oh,
that's
my
it.
gosh. Okay. Well, you know, and look at it, it's time. We did great on the time. I did just want to say, a couple weeks ago at the board meeting, we had a tally of 220 members, which was pretty darn good.
Not at the board meeting.
Tally.
The number was released at the board meeting.
You'll have 221 as soon as
No.
I send my check.
Okay, so Shirley, you make number 5 today, that people have signed up today. And this is January, this is pretty good. So for that, I thank you, I thank you all. We're just, we are a hopping club, that's for sure. Okay, now we have flowers to give out.
That's right.
Okay, do you remember the number I said? I said it's like an even dozen. I just, you know, I'm just saying, you know. Okay, so, da da da. Oh, Wendy, I need to have you pick a number. Between. Hang on. Hang on. And I just thought 12 is like a really nice, even number. Okay, pick a number between 1 and 22.
22.
Oh.
Sorry.
I was trying to hypnotize you guys. 22. Jerry. Jerry. Okay. Jerry gets the flowers that Donna Nelson brought and brings every meeting that she comes. And they are beautiful sunflowers, just gorgeous. So they are yours, Jerry. And with that, we can say adieu.
Everybody needs to take lemons.
And if you haven't given me your waiver, I'll take it.
Great. And I have extra waivers up here.
Okay, I'll get it.
She's still left it. It goes to outreach. Well, actually goes to committee, so I'll fold it and put it in. Okay.
Ask for Ellen Sue. Ask for
Okay, we're done. I should cut the